The wicked god archetype, known in the Japanese as the evil gods, are a series of dark fiend monsters that act as the malignant, twisted counterparts to the three Egyptian god cards. The story of their creation in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga was that it was Maximilian Pegasus who attempted to bring the wicked gods into circulation, out of fear that the Egyptian gods could be used against him. The irony of this was, in doing so, he constructed three even deadlier creatures with power so wicked in nature that he had to halt work on them immediately, intending for these cards to never see their completion. His wish would not be honored though, as after the events of Duelist Kingdom, where Yugimoto triumphed over Pegasus in a shadow game, he was set upon by Yami Bakura, who sought his Millennium Eye. What happens next depends on if you're an anime watcher or a manga reader. For me, as an anime viewer, during this exchange, they threw some verbal shade each other's way, as you do, and then they proceeded into a Dragon Ball Z styled beam struggle through the Millennium items. It was pretty fun to watch. Bakura, of course, in the end wins and takes off with Pegasus's Millennium Eye, causing Pegasus to continue the rest of the story Millennium itemless. However, if you read the manga, something slightly different happens, and that is that Bakura, well, he straight up murders Pegasus right there, basically through the act of ripping out his Millennium Eye. This ultimately ends Pegasus's involvement in the story completely from this point on as well, so yeah, pretty dark. Pretty dark indeed. After his death, he is succeeded by one of his adopted sons, Yako Tenma, who is under the assumption that Yugimoto was the one responsible for his father's death. And so, to exact his revenge, he completes the Wicked God cards to use for himself, where upon receiving the Wicked Avatar, he is corrupted, making him completely obsessed with his quest for vengeance. So now we know the story of how the Wicked Gods came to be, how about we take a look at each one of them, starting with the Wicked Avatar, known in the Japanese as the Wicked God Avatar. His effect is this card cannot be special summoned. This card cannot be normal summoned or set except by tributing 3 monsters. Your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards until the end of their second turn after this card is normal summoned. The attack and defense of this card are each 100 points higher than the highest face-up monster's attack on the field, except the Wicked Avatar. If we look at the original manga version of the Wicked Avatar, it is instead a God-type monster. That's card lore red, God over God. Attack and defense points of Avatar equals to the point +1 of that of the monster's attack point, which has the highest attack point among monsters exist on the field. That's a very roundabout saying that it has 1 attack point more than everything on the field, but yeah, okay. The Wicked Avatar is based on the Winged Dragon of Ra, specifically Ra's Sphere mode. The reason that the Sphere mode may have been the one chosen for this card's design instead of Ra's true form may be a result of the extra layers of protection put on Ra to prevent him from being summoned in a duel. Since, as we have seen what happens when someone tries to duplicate Ra, I'm looking at you, Odeon. Ouch. It seems only fitting that the Sphere mode would be chosen instead. And since Sphere mode resembles a bright, shining sun, ironically, the Wicked Avatar resembles an eclipse, almost the complete opposite to it. A theme that is carried over to all the Wicked Gods, in that they act as the polar opposites to their Egyptian god counterparts. If we move away from the appearance of the monster and more towards the effect, we can start to see some resemblances to Ra. For example, both are level 10 monsters who require 3 tributes for their summon. Both of them have mystery attack and defense points. That value is determined through their effects, which are actually both quite similar too. Ra's effect allows you to pay all but 100 of your life points to gain attack points, whereas the Wicked Avatar gains attack points based on the strongest monster on the field and then adds an extra 100 attack points. This similarity is also carried over from their manga effects, as Ra instead pays all but 1 life point and Avatar gains an extra 1 attack point instead. In fact, something else that ties these two monsters together is that the Wicked Avatar inherited the Winged Dragon of Ra's hierarchical power. This made it so that other gods and monsters could not affect Ra, since it was on another level to them. This also applies to Avatar, as it is immune to the effects of any other cards, including Slifer and Obelisk. That is, unless Divine Evolution is used to move them up a rank, of course. In the manga, all of the wicked gods possess the ability to both possess people, as well as to revive the dead. This was seen when they were used to bring back Bandit Keith, as well as Maximilian Pegasus, though Pegasus was only revived for a short period of time due to the actions of Yugimoto. This card's artwork features a strange silhouette of a monster within it, something that is removed in the international release. The silhouette may be alluding to the monster that is about to become, as Avatar morphs into the monster that its effect is copying, albeit they are bathed in black. One exception to this, and something worth noting, was when Avatar attempted to mimic the manga card Metal Devil, whose effect was that it could reflect the opponent, and its attack is equal to the opponent's life points. So knowing this, when the wicked Avatar mimicked this monster, it instead took the form of the player who was influencing it, which was Yami Yugi's other half, Yugi. Finally, this card's attack name is unique in the manga, as it is determined by the monster that it is imitating, and then adding darkness to the attack. For instance, when the Avatar took the form of Slifer the Sky Dragon, its attack was called Darkness Thunder Force, whereas normal Slifer's is just called Thunder Force. The Wicked Dreadroot, known in the Japanese as Wicked God Dreadroot. His effect is this card cannot be special summoned. This card cannot be normal summoned or set except by tributing 3 monsters. Halve the attack and defense of all monsters on the field except this card. In the original manga, the Wicked Dreadroot is instead a god type monster that's card lore red. Fear dominates the whole field. Both attack and defense points of all the monsters will halve. Dreadroot is based on Obelisk the Tormentor, as they are both level 10 monsters who require 3 tributes for their summon. They both share hulking humanoid appearances that also share the same 4000 attack and 4000 defense stats. Also, both of their abilities can affect all monsters on their opponent's side of the field. Obelisk is able to destroy all the monsters, while Dreadroot is able to weaken them. Unlike the Egyptian gods that were one of a kind and unable to be duplicated, the wicked gods have no such limit, as they had several copies of themselves made, even going as far as being used by multiple characters. Going back to the Egyptian god hierarchy, there was a manga exclusive card called Divine Evolution. It was used in only the one duel between Yugi and Yugioh, however both were able to use it on their monsters, the Wicked Dreadroot and the Obelisk the Tormentor. The card's ability was that it could not be negated by the effect of any other card, and it could increase the attack and defense of the monster it was used on by 1000 points. It also had an unstated effect where it would be able to raise the rank of a god card in the Divine Hierarchy, meaning that Obelisk and the Wicked Dreadroot would now be strong enough to defeat the gods higher than them, like the Winged Dragon of Ra and the Wicked Avatar. This card also had an aesthetic effect on the monster it was involving, as both Obelisk and the Wicked Dreadroot changed slightly after they were affected by it. Oh, and fun fact, the evolved form of Dreadroot appears in this card's artwork. And finally, this card's attack name in the manga is Fear's Knockdown. The Wicked Eraser, known in the Japanese as Wicked God Eraser. His effect is this card cannot be special summoned. This card cannot be normal summoned or set except by tributing 3 monsters. The attack and defense of this card are each equal to the number of cards your opponent controls times 1000. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, destroy all cards on the field. During your main phase, you can destroy this card. In the original manga, the Wicked Eraser is instead a god type monster that's card lore red, a god who erases another god. When Eraser is sent to the graveyard, all cards on the field go with it. Attack and defense points are 1000 times the cards on the opponent's field. Now the Wicked Eraser is of course based on Slifer the Sky Dragon, as they are both level 10 monsters who require 3 tributes for their summon. They also both share similar snake-like bodies with wings. As well, their attacks are determined via a count of cards, then times by 1000. For Slifer, its attack is determined based on how many cards you have in your hand, whereas Eraser's is determined by how many cards your opponent has on the field. Funnily enough, Seto Kaiba finds this effect of the Wicked Eraser insulting, describing it as a cheap knockoff of a god, since it isn't self-reliant. Classic Kaiba right there. In fact, Kaiba wasn't the only one to insult this card. Bandit Keith, who was resurrected by the Wicked Avatar, was given this monster in order to try and defeat Yugi and the gang. However, upon receiving it, Keith expresses displeasure in putting a monster into his deck that did not fit the theme of his machine-type deck. If we take a look at each one of the Wicked Gods' names, we can see that they seem to be based on their effects. For example, the Wicked Avatar is able to transform into anything. The word avatar is derived from both the manifestation of a deity, or more fittingly, a figure representing a particular person. So that fits quite well. The Wicked Dreadroot is able to halve the attack of all monsters on the field. In an essence, it is rooting a deep fear in all the monsters, or more specifically, Dreadroot. This in essence makes them afraid to fight. Finally, the Wicked Eraser, which is able to destroy all cards on the field should it be destroyed. Of course, he's able to erase all the monsters from existence. And finally, the Wicked Eraser's attack name is Digestive Blaze. As a little bonus as well, we also have the manga exclusive card, Gap the Divine Soldier, known in the Japanese as War God Gap. His effect was this card gains 300 attack for each god type monster in your hand. The card was included in Yako's deck along with the Wicked Gods. However, if the name may seem familiar, well, it was released in the real world card game too. However, its effect was changed since the Wicked Gods became fiend monsters in their transition. Gap now gains 300 attack instead for every fiend monster in the hand. And this is where I would love to talk about a combined form for the Wicked Gods, as the Egyptian gods have their form of purity, creator god Horikofi. The sacred beasts have their twisted fused form, Armital the Chaos Phantom. It would have been really cool to see a fused form of these three, so I'm gonna have to pose the question to all of you. What would the combined form of the three Wicked Gods be, and what would its effect be? Let me know your ideas in the comment section below, but before we end, it's shout out time. Thank you to my Patreon backers that make these videos possible: CBCB, J24092, Light, Dylan Cunan, Hoff, Audrey Wang, The Gengar King, Barrett Jackson Daly, Aztec Dragon, Jack Sisson, Chungling Zen, and David Shanahan, as well to everybody else that is supporting me here. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. If you too would like to directly support the channel, we have the Patreon, as well as the new YouTube member club, so whatever you fancy really. If you'd like to do that, they're your options anyway. Guys, thank you for watching. Catch you later.